Hi guys, Lindsay here. Today we're going to talk about Cherokee fashionistas. That to me means, what was it that made the Cherokee Indians so fantastic with the way they dressed, the way they created their clothing back in the early 1700s? It's a long time ago. When you think about it, we didn't have sewing machines, we didn't have factories, we didn't have assembly lines. So how did they come to be these fantastic dressers who managed to survive hundreds of years in freezing cold elements, rainy elements, and then of course some warmer climates? So in order to get to that point, we need to figure out a little bit about them first. So what I can tell you about them is originally they were part of the Iroquois, the Cherokee. Due to internal conflicts, there was a couple disagreements, and some of the herd decided to travel. And ultimately, they gradually headed across our great nation toward Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Virginia. They set up camp in these states and believed to exist there for hundreds of years. They also believed in spiritual things, such as they believed in the eagle. The eagle to them was the most sacred animal. It had the ability to fly in between our world, where we walk and live and grow and play, to the spiritual world where, our essence, soul, however you want to use to describe that, would then carry off and be, able to be seen by eagle both here and there. So the Indians used feathers. They used feathers all the time, the Cherokee did. As you can see in this image right here, this is a traditional warrior king. As you can see, he has feathers wearing all over his headdress. The whole headdress is literally feathers. They have feathers coming out the side, on the top, little small feathers all the way around the crown of the headpiece. They also did this in their everyday clothing. As you can see here in this image, you can see that, they're on their belts, they have feathers. On the bottoms of their coats, sometimes they have feathers. The feather to them was sacred, just like the eagle. If they were representing the eagle, then they were representing their most sacred animal. They believed that it truly was a great gift from God, or their gods, and they wanted to represent that in their clothing. Now, the Cherokee Indians were also very thrifty. So they also believed that when you went on a hunt, if you were, let's say, killing a buffalo, for instance, they would use every part of that buffalo. They would use the bones as weapons. They'd make arrowheads out of them and knives out of them. They would use the skin, and the skin would be the clothing. So as you can see here, this is animal hide. Kind of like my little headpiece here. It's not real animal hide, but it's the closest I could get. And they would make their clothing. They would make rugs. They would make the teepees, the covering for their teepees with the animal hide. And then, not to be a little gross, but they would even use the tendons and ligaments from these animals. They would use those to create their ropes, to create their strings. They would use it to tie together their outfits, or, on the headpiece. Like, here's a headpiece in color. Obviously, this headpiece doesn't just stay on by itself, so they would use a tendon inside here to make this a form-fitting, snug fit so that it would stay on the Indian chief's head as they were, about their business every day to day. So, in using every part of life, that is how most of their clothing came to be. So, here's another example. These are slippers, obviously, but you see how it's lamb, it's fur. So what the Indians would do is they would use it all. So they would stuff their moccasins. The outside would be the animal hide. The inside would be fur or lamb's wool. So here's a picture of the Indian Cherokee brand of moccasins. And as you can see, the inside is fur. The outside is animal husk. And then they design it with different colored beads and I'm assuming dyed animal hide. I don't know how they made beads. I tried finding that online. I tried reading it in books. I was very unsuccessful in that endeavor, which I'm kind of sad about because I really wanted to share with you the whole ins and outs of their fashion. But I can tell you that they used their crops to dye their animal hides. So if they found berries, they found, let's say, corn. If they had a garden of corn and had 2 or 3 stalks of the corn was bad, instead of just feeding the animals their corn, they would take some of those corn kernels and they would crush them up and make them into a dye, and they would soak the animal hide in that dye for days on end, drain out the color water, and, you know, let them dry in the sun. And then you have tinted animal hide, which was, you know, very popular in their culture. They used color. They loved color. So the majority of it was, yes, tan, like animal hides, but then they would make it beautiful by dyeing their feathers and dyeing the animal hide into different colors and braiding and beading and making feathers and just making it all pop and come together. And to me, their culture is beautiful. I love that they don't waste, and I love that they survived for hundreds of years by just following the simple rule of not wasting anything. It's fantastic. So I also wanted to talk about where they are now. So our lovely Cherokee, by the Reservation Act in 1819, decided that, you know, Indians have a right to this land just as well as we do. So they reserved a 7,000 square foot mile jurisdictional area in 14 countries across northeastern Oklahoma. That is their reservation. That is where they live. Now, a lot of their tribe has fallen segue to the popular belief of what is us now. They dress like us. They work like us. They use cell phones like us. But there is still a mass quantity of Cherokee Native Americans that live on that reservation in Oklahoma. And to this day, they still dress just like this. I mean, they may have some variations, like they may have cotton t-shirts and they may have work boots per se. They do travel off the reservation, and that is their right to barter and trade goods. However, they also still believe in their culture. They also still believe that when you hunt, you use the whole part. So obviously they can't hunt for buffalo anymore, but they still hunt for deer and raccoons and fox and other small creatures, and they use those parts entirely still to this day on that reservation in Oklahoma. If I ever get the chance, I hope to travel there and meet with these people one day, because I think that it would be a truly fantastic thing to possibly learn something great from them. I hope you enjoyed my video. I hope that you learned a few things about the Cherokee Indians, about what they dressed in, how they made it, and their culture as a whole, to understand it better. And hopefully I've intrigued you enough to maybe you want to research it yourself a little bit, or maybe, just maybe, you might Google a jurisdictional reservation yourself. Have a great day. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye.